Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new, my name is Courtney and today we are working with Wood Shims. Oh my, I'm so excited. Okay, they're cheap, that's why I'm excited. Okay, start over. Take 17. All right, so real quick before we get into these DIYs, I wanted to say at the end of this video, I am revealing one of my hints that I dropped in a previous video a while back, so stay tuned for that. Now, what the heck is a wood shim? Well, let me give you the quick 1-minute rundown. So if you're not familiar with wood shims, you can buy these for super cheap from the hardware store. Commonly, you'll find them in a package like this. This 12-pack cost me $1.46 at Home Depot. They also had the super large wood shims, which this cost me $4.86, and I don't really know how many is in the package because it is not properly labeled. Now I will say this package right here makes a suggestion of how you could use a wood shim that I 100% disagree with. Now, what could you use for wood shims? Typically they are used for installing windows, doors. They are a wedged shape, if you're not familiar with them. As you can see here, piece of wood that are used for, like I said, installing windows, doors, leveling cabinets, fun things like that. Now, this Irving company right here took it upon themselves to make some other suggestions of how you could use wood shims, which I'm going to share with you. Arts and crafts. Check, that's what we're doing today. They also suggest you can use it for construction, renovating, remodeling, leveling furniture, children's arts and crafts, which we are doing. Now, for all you pyromaniacs out there, they also say you could use it for fire kindling. So there you go. Now, the one that I do not recommend with is paint stir sticks. These are completely rough. Sometimes you get lucky and get one that's kind of smooth, but in all reality, they are full of splinters. So I would not recommend using this as a paint stir stick, and if you do, good luck. My last tip on the wood shims is that they are not all created equal. When I was at Home Depot buying my wood shims, minding my own business, a man walked up to me and I was digging around in the Nelson box, which was a very large box, by the way. And I was digging around because I spotted a package of wood shims that had red tones to it, which you're gonna see in this first DIY, how I use those to my advantage. The man walks up to me and says, "Ma'am, all the wood shims are the same." To which I was like, no, they're not. These are red, these are not the same. So when you go to buy your wood shims, if you want to try to find different tones of wood and even perhaps different types of wood, dig around in the box. Don't be afraid. I did not find that true for the larger ones, but for the smaller ones, if you dig around, you will get different tones. So that's my tip on that. Don't be afraid to dig. And without further ado, let's get into these DIYs. Starting with this first DIY, you're going to want to take a piece of cardboard, and we are essentially going to make a little donut, so to speak, a little wreath form, if you want to call it that. And I'm just using this Dollar Tree hanging basket as my large circle. I'm going to trace it around with a pencil and then use my hobby knife to go ahead and cut that out. Then I'll take a Dollar Tree cake pan and use that to draw my inside circle, trace around it, and again, cut it out with my hobby knife. Now that it's cut out, I'm going to go ahead and take some of my small wood shims and I'm going to start arranging them around on my little cardboard form here. Now this is where I mentioned about the different tones of the shims. So here these are just kind of some natural ones. I found several packages of the red ones, and what I did is I kind of just played around with the design because I knew I was going to leave these natural. I wasn't going to paint, I wasn't going to stain, and so I just wanted to arrange them so that it had the most depth and that I really liked how it looked. Once I had the look that I wanted, I very carefully went ahead and took off the top level, or layer I should say, of the wood shims. I just picked them up and stacked them in a clockwise motion, which would make it easy for me to be able to put them back where I needed them to go. And then starting with this bottom level here, the ones that needed sanding, I gave it a very light sanding, and then I just used some hot glue to glue these down. And then I did the same thing when I went to reattach the top level of wood shims. Now I was ready to go ahead and attach the mirror. So I got this 6-pack of mirrors from Amazon, and these are, I don't know what to call them, to be honest. They're not super thick. They're great for crafting. It came with these 3 different sizes, and then it's got a film on it. That's why they're a little hazy right now. But ultimately what I was trying to decide was, my original plan was to go ahead and put the mirror in the back of this little sunburst thing. But I thought, maybe, I don't know, maybe do I want it on the top? But then I was like, no, I don't want it on the top. So once I decided to put it on the back, I just had to peel the film off, and then I just hot glued it directly to the back of my Wooden Shim Sunburst. Moving into this DIY, you're going to need some of the smaller wood shims as well as a styrofoam cone. I got my cone from Dollar Tree. You're also going to need your miter shears to be able to trim these up. If you don't have miter shears, you could use a miter box, or if you even have a miter saw, you could use that as well. Just be very, very careful. So the first step here is we're going to take this cone and we're going to hot glue some of these whole pieces just around, kind of like go about halfway up the styrofoam cone, and just glue these pieces down, making sure as you set it down that the pieces are kind of level so that when you go to set this tree down, it will set level on your tabletop surface. Now taking those miter shears, like I said, and your trimmed pieces, you're just going to randomly set them, kind of building up your tree, putting some on the bottom part of the tree, then around the middle, and work your way up to the very top. Once you've filled in your tree, and I did go through and I trimmed some skinny pieces and kind of shoved them up and underneath, so it really is totally up to you. The more rustic it looks, the better. And once you get that all done, you're ready to kind of work on your top. Now obviously if you just glued the shims with their straight, straight edge across the top, it's not going to look right. So you are going to need some type of tool to go ahead and trim these down. And I'm just working with the thin part of the wedge. I'm just cutting it, and then I'm just kind of making points at the end, trimming the edges to where they will all kind of come together at the very top and make somewhat of a point for my tree. And this is what it looks like when it is all finished. Now you could leave it natural like I'm going to. I am planning to make several more of these for the Christmas season. You could dry brush it, you could paint it green. There's lots of options. You could add berries. So definitely keep this in mind when you start to work on those Christmas DIYs. For this DIY hack, I'm going to show you one more tree. So you're going to start with 2 of the long pieces of shims, and you're going to want to match up the thick end of one shim to the thin end. Essentially, you're going to end up wood gluing these 2 pieces together. But before you do that, then take one of the shorter shims and hold it up against this, and you're basically trying to decide how long you want your trunk to be. Once you figure that out, go ahead and mark it on those 2 long pieces of the shims and trim them down. Then once you've done that, then it's time to go ahead and wood glue them together. And then I just took some binder clips. You could use clamps if you have them. I know Dollar Tree does sell some little crafting clamps in their Crafter Square section, and you want to let these dry overnight. Now we're ready to go ahead and start building our tree. So you're going to need a total of 12 of the smaller wood shims, 6 for each side, and you're simply just going to take some of that wood glue and you're just going to glue the pieces on and continue to glue them on until all of the pieces are attached together. The last step here is to go ahead and attach a base. So I have this wood round that I had gotten from Hobby Lobby quite a while ago. I'm using some of my Gorilla Glue clear grip glue. I'm just going to glue it to the base and then flip my tree upside down, put a little weight on the wood round so that it kind of adheres, let it dry overnight, and it's good to go. Now, of course, you don't have to leave this natural. You could paint it green, you could stain it, you could do many things that you want to, and I may change my mind and do that later on, but there you go, another tree that you can make out of wood shims. For hack number 4, we're going to do some DIYs that are perfect for entertaining, and that is to just make some wooden tags. So you're going to want to use the thick end of the wood shim, and I basically just marked off the corners and then just snipped them very quickly with my miter shears. You guys know I love my miter shears. They are always linked down below in the description box. One of my favorite tools ever. And once I get these snipped, then what I'm going to do is go ahead and paint these with some black paint. Now, once that's all painted, I do need to go ahead and make a little hole at the top. So I'm just going to use my Dremel tool, which I've been using more and more. I absolutely love it. That's also linked down below. I think the last video I showed it, I forgot to link it, but I did add it there, and now it's down in the description box. So if you don't have a Dremel tool and you're not really a big fan of the huge drills and things like that, definitely check out getting a Dremel because it can do a lot. Once the holes are drilled, then I just need to make some quick little decals on my Cricut. I made one that said sweet and one that said unsweet. And then it's just a matter of tying some twine to this, and voila, you've got yourself some little tags that you can use with scrap pieces of wood shims. For this next DIY hack, we're going to make a wooden plant crate, and I'm actually going to leave the bottom of this open so that I can just set it over my potted plants. My pots can drain easily without any issues, and I can lift it off when I want to lift it off. So for this, you're going to need 3 of the long wood shims. I almost said skewers, dowel rods. My brain is like, anyway, what am I saying? I don't know. Let's focus here. So you're going to need 3 pieces of wood shim, and then I'm taking some of these large popsicle sticks that came from Walmart, and I'm just trimming these down so that I can use this to kind of glue my 3 pieces, but not kind of, I'm using it to glue my 3 pieces together. Now my 3 wood shims are, if you're looking, let's say at the left side of them lined up, the thin end is on the first, the top wood shim. The second one, the thick end is there, and then the thin. This is going to give the side of the crate a little bit of texture, a little bit of dimension, and I just personally think it looks really cool. I'm using my Gorilla Glue clear wood glue, or I'm sorry, it's not wood glue, it's just clear glue, and I am gluing this together. I am struggling on this DIY. Honestly, this is probably the easiest one. Yeah. So you're just going to go ahead and put a popsicle stick on one end, gluing it. Then you're going to do it on the other end. And then you're going to make one more side just like this one. So you'll have 2 sides that are composed of 3 of the long wood shims. It is time to work on the 2 end pieces for my crate. So here I've got 3 of these lined up. Again, the same pattern where on one end it's thin, and then the thick, and then the thin. I'm going to mark where I want it to be and then go ahead and cut those down. Then once that's done, I'm going to do the whole popsicle trick again where I trim down some popsicles and use my clear Gorilla Glue to attach these pieces together. Then it's just a matter of assembling my crate, and to do that I am just going to use, again, the clear grip Gorilla Glue, and I'm going to go ahead and glue all of the 4 pieces together and then let it dry overnight. Moving in to number 6, I'm going to make some really fun garden herb markers. So I started by grabbing 5 of my smaller wood shims and giving them a very light sanding. And then I picked a bunch of fun colors from pink and yellow and green and blue and purple and gave all these shims a good coat of paint. Once these were all painted, I decided to get my letters onto the wood shim garden markers. I was just going to go ahead and stamp them. Now, I'm stamping them because I know that these garden markers, these are going to be inside. I'm not putting them outside. If you're going to be putting these actually outside, don't use Stampin' Ink because if they get wet, if they get moisture, it will bleed. If you try to seal them thinking, oh, I'll seal it before I put it out there, it will also bleed. So if you're going to put these outside, you're going to want to use some Cricut vinyl that you've sealed, or perhaps use stencils and seal it. You're going to want to definitely do that, not use stamps. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp on my different little herbs that I picked, and then that's it. This DIY is DONE. For this Wood Shim DIY hack, we are jumping to a little bit of a patriotic decor. So here I've got several different shades of blue fabric as well as red. You're going to need 5 different fabrics. All of my fabrics came from Hobby Lobby. I absolutely love their fabrics, and most of them do come from the wall that, I always call it the wall that's always there. That's usually always 30% off. That's where most of them came from. So once I got my fabrics picked out, I'm going to be working with the long wood shims. Again, you're going to need 5 for each star, and I'm just going to cut a piece of fabric that will leave me about, I don't know, 3/4 to an inch of fabric allowance all the way around the wood shim. So I'm just going to cut some strips so that I have all of these ready to cover up my wood shims. Once my fabric pieces are ready to go, I'm just going to attach them to my wood shims using some hot glue. So I'm going to start by going ahead and pulling the sides over and hot gluing those down. And then when I get to the ends, I'm going to trim off a little bit of the fabric to make it not bulky. And then I'm going to kind of do the little wrapping paper trick where you kind of fold it in, make a little triangle and pull it forward. That way my ends won't be super bulky. So that is why I opted to go ahead and trim off a little bit extra fabric. I would recommend doing that because the points where your star are going to meet are going to be on the ends, and if they're too bulky, it's going to make it a little awkward to put your star together. Now that the shims are all covered with fabric, we're ready to go ahead and assemble the star, and this is kind of your decision as to how you want the designs to go. And you're just going to place the pieces, make your star. Once you get it all lined up how you like it, then to attach the pieces together, I am just using some hot glue, and that's it. This star is finished. I did go through the exact same process for the blue star. So here I have my red star and my blue star all ready to go. Now I'm ready to work with some of the smaller sized wood shims, and I'm going to be making a wooden candle wrap. So what you're going to want to do is grab some of these shims, and you're going to want to make them 6 inches, which means you are going to need to cut them, and you're going to want to alternate. So you're going to want to have the thin end of the wood shim, and then the next one you're going to want to cut it where the 6 inches includes the thick end. And it kind of depends on what size candle you're going to use, so I just cut enough that we'll be able to wrap fully around my candle. Once my wood shims were cut, I went ahead and laid them side by side, alternating thin end at the top, thick end, thin, thick, and I took a piece of rope that was kind of flat. I wouldn't recommend using twine. You could use ribbon here as well, but you want something that's a little bit wider than twine, and I hot glued it to my pieces of wood shim. And what I'm going to end up doing is just wrapping this around my wood shim, and once I get it all wrapped, then I just trim off the extra, and it's something that I can just slip over my candle and give the candle a totally different look. Then once that wood shim wrap is all done, I did want to go ahead and add some twine to it, so I added some twine around the top. I went around 4 times and just tied it off, and then did the same on the bottom, and it kind of looks like a little barrel up close. I mean, when you look at it in person, that's kind of the vibe it gives off, as a barrel around my candle, but I think it just amps it up, makes it look a little special. For hack number 9, we're going to be making a seasonal wooden wreath. So we're going to start by doing our little cardboard donut trick here. I just used the Dollar Tree cake pan to get my outside circle. Then I flipped the cake pan over to trace that inside circle, and I'm just going to use my hobby knife to go ahead and cut this out. Once that's done, I'm going to grab a bunch of the small sized shims, and I'm going to measure these from the skinny portion of the shim to the thick end 6 inches. You want to make sure that you measure them all the exact same way, and then I will use my miter shears to go ahead and trim them down. Once the pieces are all trimmed, look at all those little squares left over. I just kept seeing little Scrabble tile pieces, so I'm definitely going to save those. You'll probably see those pop up at some point. Now we're ready to start assembling our wreath. So taking your wreath form, you're going to start with your wood shim, and the thin side of the wood shim, that is the part that needs to be touching the cardboard form. Where you choose to start is up to you. I found starting on the left was easy, and then from here you can decide if you want to place them going underneath the one as you go, place the next one underneath it, or go on top like I'm doing here. And you're just going to go around until you kind of get it spraying, I guess that's the best way to say it, all in one direction, and you get it as full as you'd like it. And then once you get it arranged how you want it, we're going to start hot gluing all of these wood shim pieces down. Once it was all secured down, I did, when I was looking at it full on, there were a couple spots where I was like, oh, it could really use one. So I just added a couple extra shims to the back of my wreath, and it was totally fine. Then I decided I wasn't going to leave it natural. I wanted to go ahead and paint it green. So I used the Waverly Moss Green paint, and I painted the entire wreath green. My final touch to this was I had one of those metal words from Dollar Tree that said welcome. I took it outside, gave it a little bit of kind of the muted gold spray paint. I'm just going to hot glue this onto the wreath, and then that's it. Now this could be a spring wreath. You could add berries at Christmas. You could add leaves at fall. It's definitely multi-seasonal and a great little thing to add anywhere in your house. For the last DIY wood shim hack, we are going to start by using one of these canvases from Dollar Tree and some of the long wood shims. So the first thing you want to do is go ahead and measure your wood shims and trim them down so that you are making a frame around your canvas. once the wood shims are trimmed down, I'm going to take some brown wax and go ahead and paint all 4 of these with some of that. And then I'm also going to take some black Waverly chalk paint and I'm going to paint my canvas with a good coat of the paint. Now that the canvas is completely dry, I'm going to take a piece of chalk and I'm going to go ahead and season this. This is what they call it. And I'm just going to rub the chalk all over it, wipe it off, rub it on there, or wipe it off. And then my last step is to go ahead and hot glue my 4 pieces of wood shim, my little frame that I made, around it. And then I'm ready to use this for a chalkboard. All right, if you saw that video a while back where I dropped 3 hints, one of the hints was leading you here, which is Sam's room. So what is happening now is his room is going to be getting a surprise makeover, but the next step in his room is for me to do his feature wall, and he has decided he wants you guys to decide what to choose for his feature wall, so I'll tell you a little more about that. But I did let him help set up his bed frame and his mattress, which is from Sweet Night. It's one of those mattresses in the box, so let's go in there and check this out. We've never done one of those before, so let's see what it's all about. So here is the box that the mattress came in. This is from Sweet Night. The box is super heavy and you just open it up and then inside you find it all nice and rolled up really tight in plastic. It came with a little packet that had the directions as well as a little tool to help you open it up. You just pull it out of the box and then cut. There's like a thicker plastic on the outside that allows you to kind of roll it out, open it up, and then you cut the plastic again and it starts to inflate. It said it took 72 hours for it to fully pop up. It was super easy to get it put up and honestly it is very, very comfortable. All right. Here's Sam. Okay, he slept in his bed last night. What's the verdict, bud?
Very soft and comfortable.
Very soft and comfortable. It inflated very well. It's a 12-inch. It's a pretty thick mattress, so 12 inches. He's got new bedding and all that stuff for his room redo. So the next thing I'm working on in his room is going to be a feature wall right here. He did want to see the 3 options that I had it narrowed down to, and he did kind of favor one of them, but he has an announcement. What's your announcement, bud?
I want y'all to decide which feature wall I get.
Okay, he wants you guys to decide. So in just a second, I'm going to put up 3 pictures. There's an A, B, C. Comment down below with which feature wall do you think should go right here. And then Sam will reveal what the winner is. The rest of the room redo is going to be a surprise, but we are letting him go ahead and sleep in the bed. So, all right, there we go. The mattress is an A+. And there you go, 10 DIY hacks using wood shims. Let me know down below which one of these was your favorite project. Also let me know if you'd like to perhaps see in the coming months another DIY round of shim projects. I also am super excited to say that I found something else at the hardware store that is super cheap and that I'm going to be bringing another DIY hack to, and I have to say I have not seen anybody using these for DIYs, so look for that. And also one more time, if you were looking for a new mattress, definitely check out Sweet Night. Their information is linked down below. Guys, I was super skeptical of this whole mattress in a box thing, but yeah, it really is legit. So definitely check it out. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Hey guys, my name is Courtney. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about wood shims. Wood Shims, everybody, with our special guest, Pinocchio. Deep. Okay. Looks like I don't have a shirt on. What am I saying? Okay. Just noticed this on my table. Someone's been in my craft room making fun designs with the little clips I used in one of my projects. The little people in my house are everywhere. So they do suggest that if you are a pyromaniac, that you could use these to start a nice campfire. So keep that in mind. If you like to go camping, say, hey hun, let's go grab some wood shims. Okay. I'm super excited to bring you blip.
I hope you all shimmy into the rest of your day with joy and positivity. Have a lovely day, everybody. Unless you're not subscribed. Then you can have a mediocre day.
I'm telling you, I was so skeptical. Be bringing another DIY hack to, and honestly, what a DIY hack to eat. I want to give you the 101 on wood shims. Or the skinny. The 101, the skinny, whichever you prefer. I don't know what I'm saying. What am I saying? I don't know. Okay. I hear lots of doors opening and closing out there. I do not know what's going on in my own house. I really don't know how many you get in this. They didn't label it. It's a lot. Okay. Oh, I'm recording. Hey. I need a remote for my camera. All right. I always say all right. Why do I do that? Okay. Before we get into these DIY, these wedge-shaped pieces of woods. They're not woods. Let's see. And label the stinking package. Now I gotta do math. Why can't I say shims? Hey, Irving Company, you missed a good one. Hey, you can also not only use them as a paint stir stick, but you can use them as chopsticks. Okay, don't really do that. I don't want to be held liable for splinters in your tongue. Oh, I need to clean off my desk. Why doesn't it make the toot-toot sound? What's wrong with this picture? That's because this is the glove for this thing. Wow, what am I saying? Okay. You know what I wonder every time I use these is if these would cut hair. Here's a joke for you that no one in my family appreciated. Why do ducks have feathers? To cover their butt quacks. Ba-dum-bum. Yes, no, yes, maybe, kind of. Give this video a thumbs up if you like that. Give this video a thumbs up if you hated it. Yo. It's confession time again. So sometimes when I'm out running around, I live in the town where I went to high school, and a lot of the people I went to high school with still live in this town also. And sometimes if I see them and I'm looking like a hot mess, I put in my AirPods and then I turn around and act like I didn't see them. Like I run away and hide. Like I really legit try to hide from them. Yeah. So, anyway. But that's people I know. So if you're a stranger and you see me out, come on up. Don't let that sway you from coming up to say hi. Because if you're a stranger, I'll say hi. But if I know you, I'll hide. I don't know. I'm weird. What can I say? Have a good day.